You have to perform to make them laugh. That's the confusion. A lot of people go to L.A. to become stars. I went to L.A. just to be a comic. And I didn't even want to do that. Like, I didn't think I would survive in L.A., Mike Bocchetti. I mean, the last time I saw you, we were doing spots at the New York Comedy Club. I had taken a stand-up writing class there, an 8-week course. The guy was great. I bumped into him 20 years later in L.A. He was a writer on a TV show. I think it was Al Martin who owned the club, right? When we were working.
Oh, Al does. Yeah, he definitely did at that time. Absolutely.
Does he still own it today?
No, another guy does today. Emilio owns it for like probably 6, 7 years. But no, that's where I met you but the thing is, Joe, you got me right away comedy-wise, right? And the thing is, being unique and different like I was, some comics chastise me in New York. They're like, oh, he's not mainstream like Seinfeld or whoever. You know what I mean? And even industry people, they see something different come along. They're like, oh, what is this?
Well, I mean, listen, Mike, you want to be different. I would love to be John Mulaney. I would love for my comedy to be Bill Burr's. We all aspire to do something, but at the end, you have to be yourself.
That's the key to comedy, Joe, in life.
That's the key to comedy. And when people tell you that in the beginning, there's a lot of young comics that listen to this show. It's such a cliche bullshit line when people say it to you. Just be yourself. Just be yourself. And you're like, I'm an asshole. I'm a fucking retard. What are you talking about, be myself? What are you talking about? And then you understand it, that what they're looking for is what you bring to the game, that little different aspect. My stand-up is very untraditional. It's not Bill Burr.
Me either. I'm not a monologist. You know what I mean? I'm not that kind of comic. I know.
No, and you were very funny.
Thank you, Joe. So because you're yourself like I am, because I watched your podcast. The thing I like about you is there's no nonsense with you. Like everybody like cowers into people, Joe. They're like, oh my God. They're like, if the curse agents are gonna like me. You know what I mean, right? You don't. You're like you went on anyway. You didn't care because they did or not.
Tell them shut the fuck up, cocksuckers. I'm doing a podcast.
I know. I told them that earlier. Sorry.
How many kids you got? Are they kids?
Oh no, my family's here to visit me.
Okay, good. How many people over there?
We got like 4 or 5. And Joe, we got a 5-pound Chihuahua upstairs. My brother's dog.
A 5-pound Chihuahua. What are you, the Mexican?
No, but the thing is, she thinks she's a 90-pound Rottweiler.
Oh, fuck. But what was really interesting about our relationship that I never told anybody, that's why when you reached out, I'm like, you know what? This is perfect to tell podcast people because they learn. I want the young comics to learn that this is where I learned it. In 1991, obviously, as you remember, when you performed at the New York Comedy Club or any other club in New York, you had to bring a few people. You had to bring a few people. So, God blessed me with great friends growing up in Jersey, that supported me. They were in shock that I was doing comedy.
My family too.
I really met you in 93, not 91. 91 is when I started. 93 is when I met you. March of 93. I lived in New York. I came back here. I was having such a problem in Boulder. And I said, let me go back to New York and give this problem some space.
Joe, I thought you were in the mob when I first met you. You look like a tough guy when you're young.
When I got down it.
I thought you were a mafia member when I first seen you.
I was raw back then. When I first met you in 93, I was still doing some crazy shit. Yeah. But I had to bring people all the time to the shows, and you would always be there. And my friends, till this day, still love you. There's one guy that still says, because you used to have a line that said, you work in a bakery, you're in charge of the tarts.
Oh, can I say it for you? I haven't said it in years, but thank you.
What was the joke?
I worked in a handicap bakery. They put me in charge of the tarts.
Oh my God. Look at that. 28 years later, I still fucking remember this because on the way home, my friends would be torturing me. They're like, you got to be more like Mike Bocchetti.
Well, thank you, because
they're like, you suck. You got to be more like Mike. And I'm like, you cocksuckers. So for the first couple days, I'm like, God damn it, I was kind of jealous of you. And then I'm like, bro, I got to do what he's doing. He's different. He's not doing what anybody else is doing. That's what my friends were telling me. So at first, I was jealous of you. I'm like, fucking Mike Bocchetti. My friends would say to me, you got to be more like Mike. And I'm like, fuck you, fuck Mike. What do you mean I got to be more like Mike? Michael Jordan? Mike? What Mike are you talking about?
That's funny because, but the thing is, at the end of the day, when I first started, I went to Pips in Brooklyn, besides the New York Comedy Club, right? And God rest his soul, I was up there. And
what was his name?
Seth.
Seth.
Seth Schultz, right? I went there. I was very dirty at the time, Joe. I was wearing a black leather jacket. This is what he told me. Speaking about being yourself, he said, I can see you totally love Andrew Dice Clay, which I still do to this day. But you know what he told me? You can't be him and he can't be you. You got to be yourself in this.
And that stayed with you.
Yeah.
That stayed with you for a long fucking time, Mike.
Joe, I actually met him years ago. And when I first met, I want to tell you a funny story about him. I met Andrew Dice Clay in 2005 for the first time at Caroline's, right? Jim Florentine introduced me to him with Don Jameson. They were opening for him at the time, right? And I went over to him, Joe. I was like a 9-year-old kid at a New Kid from the Block concert, like so excited to meet him. And he broke my balls the first time. And I'm like, whoa, But then I met him a couple of times. But Joe, he became a good guy to me. When I was at an audio show, he hugged me, right? And he told me, I became a fan of yours now after watching you. And that blew my mind to hear that because, Joe, for 30 years I watched him. And for him to tell me that, it was like winning an Emmy.
Mike Bocchetti, I came out of prison, and for New Year's Eve, they put me in a halfway house when you get out of prison. And for New Year's Eve, I rented out the room in the halfway house. I think they charged me $50, and I played his special for people.
Whoa.
The one from Philadelphia, the one that blew him up,
Oh, yeah.
So you and I were both products of Andrew Dice Clay. I mean, I was a product of Richard Pryor. I loved Richard Pryor.
Oh, Richard's nobody like him.
Andrew was who pushed me onto the stage because when I saw Andrew, I said to myself, Jesus Christ, this motherfucker is saying what I think.